Hi, my name is Joe Jackson. I'm a journalist, author, interviewer, and broadcaster. I also happen to be a lifelong fan of Leonard Cohen. In fact, Leonard inspired me to become an interviewer. Back in early 1985, after he released his latest album, Various Positions, I implored a magazine editor to commission me to do an interview simply because something told me I had to meet Leonard Cohen. After that interview, I felt so transcendent that before the day had ended, I decided I must become an interviewer to track down more of my heroes to talk with. I tell that story in depth in my ebook Hallelujah, A Conversation with Leonard Cohen, which also contains the full text of our exchange that day, and I uploaded parts of the conversation into a previous podcast about Leonard. However, in this one, which is part of my singles series, meaning it lasts roughly 5 minutes, you'll hear a clip from the second interview we did. It took place around the time Leonard released his album I'm Your Man, and here we talk about some of its tracks and, incidentally, a subject that should concern all singers, namely the challenge of singing in a voice that is true. By the way, the ebook Hallelujah, A Conversation with Leonard Cohen is available from all ebook outlets, and if you want to gain access to the full tapes for personal use or perhaps in a documentary, contact me via my website joejacksoninterviewer.com. The lyric of your new single, or the single First We Take Manhattan, is set against what you described as a Sergio Leone soundtrack. And this acts maybe as a form of mild mockery counterpoint to the song's theme.
These things are not done from a point of view of strategy, or I rarely have a plan. It takes me a long time to bring a song to completion. That includes the writing of it. I must have discarded, I don't even know if discard is the word. I have 50 verses. I have 4 or 5 notebooks for that song.
50 verses for
maybe
First
50 verses for First We Take Manhattan. That's when it became First We Take Manhattan. Originally, it was a song called "In Old Berlin," and that was a derivation of another song which broke off into 2 songs. Which one was called "In Old Berlin," the other was called "Dance Me to the End of Love."
Oh, yeah.
So the song and its structure goes back into very boring ancient history that I don't want to burden anybody with. But by the time a song is brought to completion, it's gone through a lot of testing.
But the element of the music may be gently mocking a theme in the song.
But that's the only way it could survive.
Okay.
That's the only way the song could exist. If that song was set to something more solemn or more ponderous, I couldn't have got through it. I would have bored myself to death if that had a certain kind of flavor that it doesn't have. If it didn't have that kind of cooking
Counterpoint.
techno-pop counterpoint, the whole thing would collapse.
Okay, an extension of that is one critic here slammed the soullessness of the backing vocalists, but you seem to use backing vocalists, as we'd say Ray Charles did on Old Man River, where it's like white on black as opposed to having black on black, which would be just too much.
Well, I'm interested in those kind of, as I say, it's not a strategy,
Right.
but the thing to survive has to have those qualities. I mean, Anjani, who did the backing vocals on First We Take Manhattan, Ain't No Cure for Love, I worked with her to get a certain flat, mindless quality, bubblegum quality to the thing. That's exactly what I wanted in the song. But that's done with extreme precision. I mean,
Right.
the tonality, the intonation is perfect. That's what I was going for, something that was mindless and perfect.
Were you influenced by the success of Jennifer Warren's album?
Well, Jennifer never uses that kind of approach.
No.
Jennifer has a completely different approach, even especially to back up to her. She does her own backing vocals on her own record. She has a very, very different approach. Her approach is real emotion in the backup vocals. Backup vocals that start and end in whispers, that have sighs, and that have modulations, that have imprecise trail-offs. She has a completely different approach to the backup vocal than me. I like mine to be mindless and unassailably precise.
But hers may be a counterpoint to her voice too, where she maybe lacks or doesn't go into that area of emotionalism or that weight.
Oh, her
emotionally.
taste is impeccable. Anyways, her musical decisions are impeccable.
Yeah. So you were very pleased with the album.
Well, I was very pleased with it for a number of reasons. one, I happen to love Jennifer
Right.
Warnes. I like her. I love her personally, and I love her as a singer. You know, the fact that she's devoted that incredible talent to, you know, all my own songs.
Right.
Well, of course, that's something, you know, that, you know, you don't have too many of those gestures made toward you in your life.
That's true. Okay, you about your lyrics. You say you now are straining to keep your lyrics close to the bone, as in the kind of country songs you originally sang, maybe with the Buckskin Boys or your roots.
It's, I don't know if it's straining. It's just that.
Sorry. You're working too.
You find that there's only one way you can speak. You know, you find that there's a voice. There's your own voice is somewhere, and it drives you mad if you're not speaking in your own voice. So, like for a song like "Can't Forget," I started that off as a religious hymn about the liberation of the soul. The metaphor was the exodus of the Hebrew children from the land of Egypt.
Right.
And I'd worked on that lyric for a long time, as long as I work on any lyric, which is a long time. And I'd done
Years.
Yeah. And I'd done the track. And the lyric's pretty interesting. It goes, I was born in chains, but I was taken out of Egypt. I was bound to a burden, but the burden was raised. Lord, I can no longer keep this secret. Blessed is the name be praised. Well, it goes on for 15 verses as precise as that. It took a long time. Put the track down, and I went in to sing that lyric. I couldn't sing it, I choked on it. It was a total lie in my mouth. You know, I didn't know anything about the liberation of the soul. And if I did, I didn't want to talk about it. The theme was too ambitious, and who cares anyways?
You didn't know anything about the liberation of the soul?
Well, not in those terms.
All right,
You know,
okay.
I couldn't sing the song.
Okay.
I couldn't get through the lyric.
Wasn't true.
Wasn't true. So that was an expensive mistake. Expensive in terms of time, and also I'd done a whole track in the studio. And so, I mean, I had to go right back to zero on that tune. And I didn't know where to go, because I don't have the luxury of throwing away a lot of songs if I want to make a record, because I don't write that many.
Right.
So I had to start at the beginning there, and that's where the language of the album really started to gel. I had to start, you know, I stumbled out of bed.
From zero.
That was true. You know, I got ready for the struggle. Yeah, there is a struggle, and I am addressing it. You know, I smoked a cigarette.
Wasn't there the same kind of Spartan or stark quality on the last album too, though? You were headed in that direction.
I was headed in that direction, but you know,
as opposed to recent songs, you said it's very ornate and
very ornate. Yeah, exactly.
Hi, Joe Jackson here again. I thank you for listening to this edition of the Joe Jackson Interviews podcasts, and don't forget, my ebook Hallelujah: A Conversation with Leonard Cohen is available from all ebook outlets. And if you want to gain access to the full tape of the conversation you just heard, or any of my 3 conversations with Leonard, contact me via my website, joejacksoninterviewer.com. And thanks again for listening.